Hello everybody, Bogdan here and welcome to the Import-Export Hub channel. Okay, so without asking you to hit the like and the subscribe buttons in order to please YouTube's algorithm, let's start this video and let me show you 5 products that from my humble opinion are worth importing from Canada. And the first product is fresh or chilled fish, so HS code 0302. And we see that in 2020, the total exports were at more than $646.5 million, with the United States, Japan, and Taiwan being the top 3 export destinations for Canada. Unfortunately, Canada's exports trend beginning with 2016 is going downwards as it is strongly connected with the United States market. And in fact, the United States are importing roughly 96% of Canada's fresh and chilled fish, as you can see here in the table. And from 2016 onwards, the United States total imports are significantly going down, which I don't know if this is related to changes in consumer behavior in the United States or competition from other places or whatever the reason, but nonetheless this trend should really sound the alarm for the Canadian fish exporters, if you ask me. And in fact, I've highlighted here the exports towards China in 2016 and 2018, which are more or less 10 times bigger than what happened in 2020. And again, if you ask me, this is another strong signal that the Canadian exporters should really readdress their export strategy for this particular sector. Now, in terms of year-on-year changes, except South Korea and Thailand, who had big relative changes but insignificant in absolute values, the other trading partners from this top 10 list experienced strong decreases. As for the products driving Canada's fresh or chilled fish exports, I've added here some examples, and we have Atlantic salmon for the exports towards the United States and Japan. And we have here for South Korea, sorry guys, but I won't read their scientific names. I will leave this job to you. Enjoy it. And I don't want to embarrass myself any longer. And I will move on to my next product, which is dried vegetables. So HS code 0713. And we see here that the total exports were close to $3.2 billion, which is a very large figure if you ask me. And definitely Canada has some strong competitive advantages in this particular sector. Now, in terms of the 3 biggest partners for 2020, China is the main one, with more than $714 million and a share in Canada's total exports of more than 22%. On the second place, we have India with more than $500 million worth of imports and a share close to 17%. And on the third place, and I will stop here with the readings, we have Turkey with more than $279 million worth of imports and a share close to 9% in Canada's total exports from this category. Now, in terms of overall trend, it seems that Canada is steadily increasing its exports. In fact, the total exports from this category grew with more than 38% year on year in relative terms and more or less $1 billion in absolute values. And we see that the year on year relative changes are positive, except with the United Kingdom and Pakistan, who had their imports from Canada fell with 9 and 12% respectively. In terms of the main drivers, we have dried shelled peas, as in the case with China. Then we have dried shelled lentils, as in the case with the United Arab Emirates. and the dried shelled kidney beans, as in the case with the United Kingdom. And with this being said, guys, I can move on to my next product, which is, and hold your breath, animal rights activists, raw foreskins of mink, as you can see in the driver column. So HS code 4301. Now, here the values are not that high. We have more or less $65 million worth of exports, a value which is by far lower of that of 2016, for example. In terms of the biggest trading partners, we have the United States on the first place with more than $30 million worth of imports and a share in Canada's total exports of almost 46%. On the second place, we have Denmark with more than $60 million, and on the third place, we have Cambodia with almost $51 million and a share in Canada's total exports of about 8%. In terms of year-on-year changes and considering only the top 10 trading partners except Denmark, who imported almost 16 times more than in 2019, and the United States, all the other trading partners experienced strong relative decreases, which is understandable given the context of the pandemic. As for the huge spike in Denmark imports, I suspect that this is not related necessarily with the increase in demand, but rather the spike is related to what happened in Denmark in late 2020 when the mink farm owners in Denmark had to kill roughly 17 million minks because of the coronavirus mutation that infected them. Again, I can't really point my finger at the huge spike, but if there is somebody watching this video and knows more about this subject than I do, a feedback will be highly appreciated. Now, moving on to my fourth product recommendation, which is carton boxes, cases, bags, and other packing containers, we see that the total exports in 2020 were at more than $867 million, with the United States being the main trading partner, close to 98%, followed by Mexico with $4.1 million worth of imports, and the United Kingdom close to $3.4 million worth of imports. In terms of year-on-year changes, the overall exports shrunk with 2%, which is not that big of a contraction, but I bet that the exports in 2021 will be much higher as the e-commerce more or less exploded in the United States, and I won't be surprised to see the exports from this category close to $1 billion. In terms of main export drivers, we have folding cartons, boxes, and cases of non-corrugated paper, as in the case with Mexico. Then we have carton, boxes, and cases of corrugated paper, as in the case with Cuba, or sacks and bags of paper, as in the case with Germany. And I think I can move on to my fifth and last product recommendation, which is wood. So HS code 4403, and I don't know for you guys, but I would have expected to see bigger numbers from Canada. For 2020, we have more or less $349 million worth of exports, a whole 43% less compared with the figures of 2019. And again, I bet that this has to do with the pandemic panic as consumers focus their spending on other goods. I don't know if this is the case, but again, I bet that in 2021, the exports will be more or less comparable with those of 2019 as the pandemic panic will fade out. In terms of main trading partners, we have China on the first place, who else, of course, with more than $158 million worth of imports, followed by the United States with more than $114 million worth of imports. And on the third place, we have Japan with close to $50 million worth of imports. Now, in terms of year-on-year changes, we see some big relative changes in relation with Taiwan, the Philippines, Vietnam, or Pakistan, but they are relatively insignificant in absolute terms. From an exporter point of view, my concern will be in relation with China, whose exports fell with almost 48% in 2020 compared with the previous year. And of course, the United States, although here the exports fell with only 3%. Now, in terms of the main export drivers for this category, we have the same driver, coniferous wood, for Japan, the Philippines, and Switzerland. Okay, guys, so with this being said, those were my 5 product recommendations for you. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't be shy and comment in the section down below. I really appreciate if you hit the like and the subscribe buttons if you slightly enjoyed this video. And as usual, until next time, keep your business safe. Thanks.